Good morning, good morning, good morning. Serious Crew back at it again with another exciting episode of the Serious Gentleman, episode 19, with my boy Tombstone, Twisted, and Vicious Dave 31K. Good morning, gentlemen. How's everybody doing?
Good morning.
Morning, morning.
Good morning.
As like the tradition to say, what is everybody drinking this morning? I notice even Dave has a drink. Y'all believe that?
Okay, yeah, I'll go first then, since that's the case. Just regular sweet tea. I'm not a coffee person, so yeah.
I got the Cafe Bustelo as usual on deck. Waking up.
I'm drinking coffee as well, man, because I just rolled out of bed, so
Yeah,
tipping it
we
back
can notice.
nice and easy today. What would you want to fight already this morning? Enough of your shit.
From your voice.
Oh, okay, got it. It was a nice. I get you.
Bill, y'all settle down. Flap ain't here. Talking about, you want to fight? Let's go ahead and get some announcements out the way. I'm going to go ahead. Got a spiffy, nice little commercial now for our sponsors. The sponsor is going to be as last time. It's going to run through for a couple episodes, a few more episodes as SPS. But I went ahead and did a commercial. So I'm going to go ahead and play that now. Appreciate Serious Property Solutions. Being our proud sponsor. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Hello, Serious Crew. This is Not So Busy, your podcast producer and Serious Gentleman podcaster. Team Serious would like to announce Serious Property Solutions, a proud sponsor of Team Serious. Serious Property Solutions, or SPS, will buy any house, any condition, any situation. So if you're looking into getting out of your mortgage or simply selling your house quick and you are near or around the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, give them a call at area code 469-609-7368, or you can reach out to them via their Facebook page at facebook.com/Serious Property Solutions and send them a message via FB Messenger or email them at oscar@seriouspropertysolutions.com. We would like to thank SPS for their support and supporting this podcast. Thank you so much. Go check them out.
Nice and easy, nice and short. That way you don't have to remember any lines. Anyways, let's get some of these announcements out of the way. We kick off a nice little campaign for December, I believe it was 11, 12, and 13. We are going to be in partnership with United Vindication. Shout out to them homies everywhere, Tombstone and Twizted and crew. We're going to be hosting a mental health awareness weekend, streams and podcast. Stay tuned for all the details coming up. For right now, the place that I can point y'all would be teamseriestfw.com/break the stigma. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and release one of our commercials that we did for that segment for promotion. And we're going to continue releasing these as the days go by, as the weeks go by. And then we have a deadline to release a schedule to let you know where you can drop in, how you can donate, how you can be a part of it. I mean, if you don't, we're not asking everybody for money, but if you can donate your time, that's precious all in its own. Come spread the word, retweet, reshare, throw a text out and say, hey, by the way, I know you and so-and-so have mental health issues. Go check them out. They're delivering a great message. That's all we're looking for. So let me go ahead and share my screen and show this video real fast.
One second, guys. We are experiencing a brief technical difficulty because not so smooth ass voice is supposed to be on this video.
It's not grabbing my sound like it's supposed to be doing it. Give me just a second to figure that out. It should be grabbing it now.
Yeah, there you go.
We all have problems. It's how we deal with them that makes us different. Depression isn't always obvious. Depression is classified as the nation's leading mental health problem. An estimated 1 million people worldwide die by suicide every year. If negative thoughts are overwhelming you, you can always talk to a friend, a parent, a teacher, a counselor, a coach, a healthcare professional. Illness is illness, and mental health is health. Control your problems, control your life. Let's talk.
So with that being said, we don't have too many announcements today. The main thing that we were focusing on today was letting everybody know that we are going to start deploying more and more of coming days and weeks of these commercials that we're making, this informational pieces, these posters and flyers in partnership with United Vindication. There will be certain commercials that will be deployed on UV segment for specific purposes, and then there'll be certain commercials that will be deployed on Team Sirius. So we're not overlapping each other, and so you're not over consuming to where people are like or they start ignoring it, right? There is this like, oh, I've seen this tweet before, I've seen this Instagram post before. We're going to try to stagger these posts often, and then try to get everybody from not only Team Sirius but also from UV to keep reposting it, so the message could be heard all the way through. Also, we're looking for other communities that are willing and able to participate within the segment. That's still open. We're going to be doing a call for these organizations to kind of either step up to the plate or provide some form of assistance. But the main two teams that we will be heading most of the work will be United Vindication and Team Sirius in conjunction with both of our teams. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and hand you off to Tombstone to get the first topic out the way. I know we're going to do some tech talk today, and I'm excited about that because I want to talk about what's being deployed here in November tech-wise.
All right, so kind of like Natsu was saying, we've got a lot of projects that we're working on, and that video does hit home on a lot of things. It's very informational. It's very relevant to what we're working on. But we spent the better part of 12 hours yesterday making new videos and making new content for this project. And I'll tell you, like, the emotions that were flowing on a couple of times where we were doing the video shooting, I had to walk away because I was in tears. So the videos that we're putting together are, some of them hit home and some of them are pretty tough. So I'm looking forward to it. We've decided on a 3-day campaign. We're going to go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're going to go basically pre-records, and those people that don't have the weekends off and those people that can't make it on Friday, they're going to pre-record their streams. We'll push them out as offline content and as online content from Team Sirius and from United Vindication. On Saturday, we'll open it up with the Sirius ladies, and that will be the official start of the stream, of the live event for us. And they're going to stream their podcast for about an hour, share some experiences, and they're going to get some tough hitting topics out of the way. Then it's going to follow up with a few streams. Then we're going to go to a UV podcast where it's Twizted, myself, and some of the leadership of United Vindication. I actually probably won't be on that podcast. I think I said I'm going to skip that one. Then we'll finish the day with a few more streams. The next day, we'll start here with the Serious Gentlemen. We'll hit some more of our favorite topics, then we'll roll into a few more streams, close it out with the ladies of UV or the lovelies of UV, and then we'll have our hopefully we'll get another organization to step up, because I've had a lot of people who said, yeah, I want to be involved, yeah, I want to help out, but I don't know if it's the stigma that's getting to them or what, but a lot of dropping out, a lot of backing out of commitments, a lot of, hey, we don't want to do the work, we're not ready. I'm still not really sure what we're not ready means, but I've heard it a lot. So I'm kind of, to a point, I'm disappointed because, you know, we've reached out and we've said to all these communities, hey, we're Team Sirius and United Vindication are going to do the legwork. Come put your name on it, participate in the live event, come sit and be a part of something amazing. And still to this day, they're still hesitant. So we got a couple meetings this afternoon to try to wrangle up another community or two, but Natsu's absolutely right. A community that needs to step up to the plate and help out, just be a part of it. You don't even really have to help. The work's already done. You know, Natsu and I spent 12 hours yesterday getting the work knocked out, Twizted, got the signups out. We've already got the pre-screens done. We've already got all this information done. It's already rolling. So now we need people to be there to support it and to get the message out. So one of the things that I'm very passionate about with the mental health stream, I know I've been talking a lot already, is protecting our streamers, protecting our people. So when you do sign up, and we're gonna start recruiting streamers probably later today, I would assume, right? So later today, we're gonna look out and see if we can find some more streamers to take part. And when we do that, like you have to agree to going through certain pre-checks and checkpoints to make sure that you're safe. And I can tell you, yesterday, like doing one of the commercials, I had to sit there and act out that I was gonna take medication for my mental health. And for those of you that don't know, I've been addicted to pills. So I had the pills in my hand, and I had to act like I was making the decision to not take the pills and put them on the counter. And as soon as I put it on the counter, I had to walk away because I was bawling. And that's a fight that it's real personal. Like, so when we do these types of activities and we really push the boundaries and we push the envelope as far as we're going to, like, I need you to be safe. And so Team Serious, United Vindication have agreed. We're not going to start any streams with less than 3 moderators who are actively paying attention. We're not going to let you stream if you're not willing to go through the pre-check and the post-check because it's necessary. We're going to have counselors on standby. We've already got 2 people that have volunteered their time to be on standby as counselors. Every single stream, every single video, every single event, every single tweet, we've got resources attached to it. So when we do hit you in the fields, because it's gonna hit you, but when we do it, we're also gonna throw that lifeline out there to get you some help if you need it. So a lot of big things are coming down the pipe for these 2 teams. This mental health stream is gonna be, if nothing else, it's gonna be a rocking good time. So on the screen, Natsu's putting up some of the lifelines we're talking about. He did a great job, creating some of these banners, some of these flyers to just, throw out a lifeline when we do hit you in the fields. Because I promise you, I'm making you a solemn promise. We're gonna hit you. Like, that shit hurt yesterday. So when we do, we're also gonna provide you a way to get out of it. And so I'm not saying this is for everybody because it's not. But I think we're gonna have about 15 to 16 stream slots open. And we're going to have to fill them with people that want to do it. So help me by, getting the word out there and maybe shouting out this podcast, getting the word out. But we'll definitely be recruiting for this event, and I'm looking forward to it.
So with that being said, so I was trying to tell you that one of the barriers we're trying to break is the stigma. We need people to step up to the plate. There's hesitation when even starting the conversation. So in partnership with UV, we're trying to break that first barrier. Let's get the conversation started. Then where do we go from there? And we're going to be breaking these barriers, and that's what we chose. Break the stigma as the hashtag moving forward, on top of using UV hashtags and Team Serious hashtags. But the main purpose is let's break the stigmas that are around these mental health issues, these mental illnesses, and let's get the conversation started. Because when we did run this a few years ago as part of a different organization, there were more pros than there were cons to speak of. There was more people saying, I actually stopped by the stream. I didn't say a word in the chat, but as soon as the stream was done, I called my doctor, or I called a friend, or I called a teacher, or I went ahead and went to the emergency room and checked myself in because I was at that brim. If it wasn't because of your commercial, if it wasn't because of your message, if it wasn't because of your stream, if it wasn't because of your tweet, if it wasn't because of your IG post, if it wasn't because of your Facebook post, I would probably not be here today. And we don't want to hear that. We want to hear, bro, I didn't want to talk about it. I finally opened up. I finally talked to a family member. I finally talked to a doctor. I finally am getting in the right path to get better, because that's the only way you're going to learn how to control your life. But you have to ask for help first. And asking for help is in many different shapes and forms. It's not just let me send a text message. It's not just let me call somebody. It could be something as simple as like, hey, bro, can you jump in a Warzone game with me? And you notice their behavior isn't saying, hey, bro, you good? Nah, bro, this is what's going on. The conversation can be started in many of different ways. So just keep that in mind when thinking about mental health awareness in general, but jumping the ship and to come help these 2 communities, take the message to the next level. And then I'll stop from there. Let's go ahead and start our tech talk for the next session. So while that, I'm going to go ahead and shift over to the Zen 3 announcement on the 8th of October. Zen 3 architecture deemed Ryzen 5000. The main reason why they went from 3,000 to 5,000, as the 4,000 SKUs are laptop related and marketing wise, and and all that specs. People didn't want to get confused where there's 4,000 something. Where's that from? And then they wouldn't know that was a mobile chip. So AMD skipped over the whole conversation and said we're going to go ahead and call it 5,000, so there's no confusion between the mobile devices that we did deploy Zen in 4,000 series. So coming November 5, what are we looking at? We're looking at one big thing: 19% instructions per clock IPC improvement for single-threaded, single-core processes, meaning that no longer can Intel say I am the king of gaming, because that's the only thing that it had. That was the last sliver it was holding on to. And for those of you who don't understand, is literally that first core is the one that is mainly used for gaming. It doesn't matter if you have 16 cores. That first core, most of the developed applications against these games are based on using that. Now, is development changing to use multiple core? Absolutely. Destiny is one good example. Destiny 2 can spin up to 6 cores. That's just one example at the top of my head. Anything that renders world, like Division 2, Wildlands, what's the other one? Breakpoint, Warzone, PUBG, anything that renders world takes a ton of more CPU. So having that single core performance is great, but you need to have the scale to different cores because it has to render the world around you. Anything that has open world, like ESO, things like that, are really going to be CPU bound instead of GPU bound. So once we get to understand those things, well, what is AMD doing this time around? So because they've improved their IPC to be very competitive to Intel, now you're looking at prices increase, but at the same time, all over technologies are just in line. Meaning that one of the reasons why I went AMD is because I can literally take this new chip and slot it into my motherboard. No need for another motherboard. Which Intel likes to refresh every generation. They might do there's a few times that they did 2 generations with the same motherboard, but to unlock all the features similar to what Ryzen did for especially PCIe 4.0 is you can slot a 2000 series CPU on a B550 or an X570, but you just can't get PCIe 4.0. That's for Zen 2 architecture. So you have to drop a 3000 series chip, a 3600, 3700, 3800, 3900 to fully support those PCIe 4 lanes. The good thing about the next one coming up, the 56, 58, 59, and 5950, they're all going to be deployed at the same time. Yes, price MSRP went up slightly from their previous generation, but they're going to be right in line, right in competitive when it comes to performing in certain scenarios, up to like almost like a 40% increase in certain games. There's a list of breakdown of games. I'm not going to go over all those games. The main message I want to get out is Intel did something shiesty that I didn't appreciate, which is like the day before Zen 3 was actually supposed to come out on the 8th. On the 7th, they released an article saying that they're the best gaming chip as a last stand. Like, this is my last hope. Because they knew as soon as Zen 3 dropped with all their IPC improvements, they could no longer hold on to that title. So that, those I'm not a fanboy of either. I'm just excited for new technologies. I've owned Intel for years. I've owned AMD for years. I've both GPUs for AMD and obviously I own NVIDIA GPUs as well. So I'm not a fanboy of anything. What I like to get excited for is breakthroughs in technology, and Intel hasn't done that for me in years. They've literally been selling us the same architecture in 14 nanometer for over 10 years by only simple improvements for next generation, 10 to 12%. And they charge us premiums for it. So that's why I'm so upset with them. Now, is the next Intel hopefully 10 nanometer or 7 nanometer process? Then I'll be like, okay, what they got going on? But if they're going to sell me another 14 nanometer process, I'm just going to completely quit until they quit their shit. Because nobody wants to rebuy the same architecture with literally no benefits anymore. At the end, you could have said, well, I have Intel, so I have slightly single-threaded, single-core performance that, that those games really emphasize on. That no longer is going to be the thing, because multi-threaded and workstation purposes, AMD's already been on that. Multi-threaded, anything situation work-wise, video editing, video rendering, things like that, compiling, AMD's already been owning that aspect. Nobody wanted to jump on Intel, spend twice as much as money and render or encode in certain ways based on that price alone, because Ryzen has taken and then the NVIDIA codec has helped a lot during that process too. So you'll see a lot of AMD machines with NVIDIA cards because the codec, the NVEC codec is straight fire. That codec is helping a lot of streamers, a lot of people that video edit, like have older machines that their CPU might not be up to par for editing, but you can let the GPU take care of that and let the GPU render an NVENC like Resolve does that as a linear editor that uses your GPU. That those case scenarios work perfect, but that even leaves a question where with I'd rather use AMD and a NVIDIA setup, especially with Zen 3 coming out 5000 series. There's really no reason, at least in my opinion, no reason to go Intel moving forward. Not to mention that they run cooler. And on this next series, they will not be releasing their coolers at the higher end. They're leaving that enthusiast build because the feedback that they gathered is a lot of people, once they start hitting the 58 and above, like 5800X, 5900X, 5950, they're using water coolers. They're not really using the stock Wraith cooler or Spire coolers that come with these CPUs. So that's one thing that you need to go. If you're thinking about buying your next CPU, just make sure that this time around AMD is not selling it with a cooler because they're really targeting more of an enthusiast platform. A lot of people are slotting these AIOs, 240, 360 AIOs to keep their CPUs nice and cool. I'm gonna kind of stop for a little bit because there's a lot of information. Kind of go back and see if Dave wants to add anything to it, and then Twizted, and then Tombstone.
I mean, I haven't really kept up, to be honest, with any of the tech for the past year or so. But of course, I just got my 3900X a couple of months ago. I am seeing some of the specs, and like to me personally, if I wanted to really upgrade from the 3900X, there's really no point. Because it's like maybe 700 megahertz more compared to the, what is it? Can you scroll up? So like compared to the 5900X, right? It's like mine runs at 4.13 gigahertz, and I guess the base frequency is 3700, 3.7 gigahertz. So turbo is 4.8. So it's really not much difference if I really wanted to upgrade, unless the L3 cache is the L3 cache more on this one?
Yes, and it's not the same. This is complete architecture. Okay. So
yeah,
in the old SKU, you had two 16 meg buffers next to each other.
Okay.
And then you had Infinity Fabric that would tie them together. Okay. And that's where it mattered how fast your RAM is. Now it's a solid either 32 or 64. So while you say, I'm kind of with you where you're saying if you have a 3900X or 3950X, do you really want that upgrade? Probably not. But yes and no, I would say.
Yeah, that's
if you're
what
an enthusiast. If you're an enthusiast and you really want to get the next level of performance, because single threaded did jump up, single core like gaming did jump update. It does boost higher. It does perform better than the 3900X. But you're kind of at the point where like, I don't really know if I should upgrade. Like I get where you're at, but to completely say not to upgrade, I've upgraded for less percentage increases. I've upgraded 6700K to 7700K when it was only at 10% at stock speeds. I literally overclocked the 6700 to match the stock speed of the 7700, and they were the exact same CPU. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I guess I'm selling my 3900X and getting the 5950.
The 3900X, while it's a great CPU, it's a different architecture. Zen 2, Zen 3 are different.
Got it.
They don't run the same. With that being said, the 5900X runs more efficient, runs cooler, runs faster. And the architecture is different. And they did that on purpose. They wanted you to know the distinction. That when you look at the dies, I'll find the dies in a minute so you know what I'm talking about. But the caches are right here. This is what you're running right now. Anybody running a Zen 2, running a 3000 series. You have two L3 caches that are 16. This is total 32, right? But then to tie these together, there's that Infinity Fabric that we're discussing, right? So the faster the RAM, the better the activity, the better the access to the CPU. Now with Zen 3, it's completely reformed in your cache, whether it be 32 on the lower end or 64 is readily accessible for all cores at any given time. As opposed to later, you have to write an instruction set and then the core picks it up, right? This time, it's all in a pool and it's grabbing it as soon as it comes in. Does that make sense? So that's how they were able to tighten the notch and tweak instructions per clock on single core performance. So that's why when I say that Intel was holding that crown, it's about to get destroyed by this. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And here's a 19% improvement and different reasons why.
Got it.
And then I know that Twizted was saying something about upgrading.
What I'm getting at is I'm throwing my i7 away right now. Throw the whole i7 away.
I just upgraded, and I feel like this is still a monumental leap over what we put in my machine. Like, even though
What'd you
like
upgrade to? How about what'd you upgrade?
3700.
Oh, okay.
And it's I don't know, man. I'm excited to see what they've got. I'm excited to see what the I'm ready to see what the actual other manufacturers do when they get their hands on it and they clock it and they benchmark it their way. Because I mean, again, this is Ryzen who did this. This is AMD who did it. So let's see what happens when the other manufacturers get their hands on it and they get to clock it. And let's see what the real performance is like instead of, these hypotheticals or theoretical situations where they make everything perfect and they build the simulation perfectly for their benchmark. Let's see what happens when you start mixing and matching parts. Let's see what happens when you start to bottleneck it a little bit. And then I'll be excited. I mean, I'm excited that they released this because this is probably where I'm going next. But at the same time, like, I want to see what it does whenever they try to break it too.
Yeah, we definitely have to wait for all the custom benchmarkings. One of the things that it did achieve over Intel by X amount of points is Cinebench R20 single thread score. This is exactly what I kept referring back to as far as gaming. This is what you utilize. When they benched it against the top tier 10900K, it actually beat it, and it totaled over the 600 score benchmark. So it got two records. It got over 600. It landed at 631, and Intel's was like I want to say 590 something. I don't know if they have the point how much the 10900K got here, but that alone, this test right here, this benchmark alone lets you know that the IPC has improved, especially where it mattered for games. The pricing is very competitive. One of the things that I do like about it is the board that you get now. Obviously, I wouldn't tell you to get older boards. You're going to go B550 or X570 unless they release the next one, which would be the same but 6. So it'll be 650. So B650 and then X670. I would not get an older board. I would not get a B450. I would not get an X470. I definitely would not get a B350 or X370 because those are not going to support these new series, these Zen 3. So support finally dropped for the first standing boards, the B350 and the X370. They will not continue supporting Zen 5, or I keep saying Zen 5, Zen 5000 series or Zen 3 forward. They will not be added support. There will be no cross compatibility. It's like, and you can say, why do they do that? Well, and the instruction said on the EEPROM chip, when you the amount of storage it can hold as far as CPUs, AMD has so many SKUs now that memory chip that's embedded onto the system board is overcapacity. The only thing to get that to be replaced is to literally erase most of the SKUs. It's just to add new SKUs. So most of the vendors are going to go ahead and say we're just going to have to drop support. There's already 1000 series, 2000 series, and 3000 series SKUs. There's 3 CPU generations that are supported on the first deployed platform, which is B350 and X370. Now, jumping over to the next series, which is the one that I have an X470, which is the one that deployed with the Zen Plus, which is the 2000 series. They're going to go ahead and update it. They're going to say, we're going to throw you a bone in January. We're going to release BIOS updates so that you're able to slot 5900X onto your X470 motherboard. I have a B450 and an X470, my streaming and my gaming. So they kind of throw us a bone. With that being said, like, I'm thinking into myself, like, I should probably go ahead and get a B550 for my B450, give that one down to like my daughter. She's running a 350. Go ahead and slot the B550 there, put a new CPU in, kind of hand everything else down. but only because I'll be able to not only slot the same CPU that I have in it now, but it'll continue my support for the next generation. So they're going to be supporting this generation's still coming up. There were slotted, I think, 5 CPU generations, and then they're finally going to make you swap boards depending on what board you buy. So that was kind of their underlying roadmap at the beginning. It's starting kind of to sway because they kind of overlooked the fact that you can only cram so many CPU SKUs into the CMOS, essentially into the EEPROM chip. So that's the problem we're running into. I'm still not mad because if you bought a B350 or X370, you have several years. Versus if you would have been Intel, you would have already swapped boards twice. See what I'm saying? So it's like pros and cons to everything. But as soon as I got rid of my Intel, I was like, I'm going to a platform that lets me upgrade. Because even if I would have stayed Intel, the board and CPU that I spent money on, I have no direct path. I have to chuck everything essentially and get a whole new platform. So if I was going to go do that, I was going to go to a platform that gave me more availability, gave me more flexibility to upgrade. So that's why I decided to go back to AMD.
You know, the thing that makes me the happiest about all of this is the fact that, first off, that, you know, we're actually seeing these companies competing again. And even though they've been competing for a while, obviously, but now they're starting to make those leaps to compete. And you can only imagine what Intel's response to this is going to be. You're right. You know, they did release that they were saying that they were still the best gaming system on the market, but what is the next step for them, and what does that look like? And then, you know, it goes back to NVIDIA and AMD and their competitions as well. You know, Big Navi's supposed to be announced, what, a couple weeks from now?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're still seeing these, you're starting to see these companies really kick this competition in high gear. And as they do that, and as technology continues to increase, it's only better for us as consumers. I mean, until they start scalping it and all that shit. But we're not getting into the bad side of that. We're talking about just competition, 2 or 4 companies that are really going at it head to head, out in the public, out in the open, with almost full transparency. And honestly, that's great news for consumers. And those of us that are in the world of buying technology, like, this is a good time. I mean, it's still expensive, I get it, but these prices are going to keep falling. These companies are going to continue to battle, and that just means better technology at better prices for us.
Going on that note, I've been asked this already by several people. Can I still pick up a 3000 series, a Zen 2? I was like, absolutely. With the deployment come November 5 of Zen 3 5000 series, the prices would definitely go tank on 3000 series. So with that being said, where do I stand? So if I go in and get a 3900X, or if I go get a 3800X, where do I stand within that retrospect? You're still good because you're still on a platform, especially if you drop a B550 or X570. You're still on a platform that says at this moment, because prices drop $100, $150, I'm going to go ahead and slide in a 3700, which is what my son's running, the one that I upgraded this summer. I upgraded him from a 7700K, dropped him over to 3700X on a Gigabyte X570 board. At that point, I can say, hey, well, since you have the X570 board with full support for PCIe 4, I'll go ahead and drop a 5800X into your board. I'll take your 3700 and drop that sucker back into my X470. So that's kind of what my overall look when kind of rotating through my computers is that my kids are also on the AMD platform, and I can literally rotate CPUs around based on need. So my boys are competitive gamers, so they're running a 3600. One of my sons is running a 3600. My other son is running the 3700X because of the platform and the flexibility that I have with CPUs. Before, they were both on Intel platforms, but I couldn't go anywhere with them. Like, I would literally have to do the same thing that I ended up doing, is chucking their board out, put a new board in, put a new CPU in. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Next time I upgrade, I just want to swap the CPU out, drop the new CPU in, boom, I'm done. Because anybody knows that the hardest part is take the system board back out, because you have to unplug everything, right? And then unscrew everything. And they're running water coolers. So I was like, I don't want to mess with this. So I want to mess with this once. And the next time I drop a CPU, all I have to do is unscrew the cold plate on top of it, clean the thermal paste, take that CPU and slot the new one in, re-thermal paste it, screw it back on, and we're good to go. Because all you need is a BIOS update, and at that point, you jump in and boom, you're good to go. You're back into Windows, you're back into game.
I already know where I like. Just seeing these numbers it's incredible, and getting a chance to watch. I'm not super tech savvy. I do know enough to get myself around, but watching these numbers get thrown around is awfully impressive. Even at the beginning of 2020, I never thought we'd be here, especially with COVID, and seeing these numbers is. I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited for February because that's when I'm going to rebuild, but I'm super excited.
Anybody else want to throw anything in?
I just can't wait at this point. You know, like Toom said, I'm excited about these new drops, but I'm also excited to see how Intel's going to respond to it. Are they going to step away and allow you to start upgrading within the same motherboard? You know, are they just going to say, hey, we got this super chip for you, and cause everyone to just upgrade again? I'm really intrigued to see what everyone else has to say once they get their hands on it.
Flab says you're the IT guy's IT guy.
3600. The other one's 37. No favorites, right? It was based on the sale. Like, you yelled at me when I picked up a 3600. You're like, why did you pick up a 3600? The sale was fire. But since it was better than his original 1700 in IPC alone, I went ahead and gave him, because I was using that for my streaming machine. I was using a 3600, and that was overkill for a streaming machine. I'm like, this is a better gaming chip because IPC has improved from 1700 to 3600. There's like a 18 and 19% difference. So I told him, hey, we're going to give you my 3600. I'll take your 1700 and slot it into my streaming PC because I don't really need to do much to it. It's just using X264 to encode my stream. And he was like, yeah, Dad, that's cool. And then I dropped it in there, and he's like, dude, my Siege runs so much better. I was like, I know, because there's an IPC improvement. But he was rocking a 1700, and I got that 1700 when they first dropped. But I was like, it's time for an upgrade. So when I got the 3600, it was like on super sale. It was like a random ass like coupon sale, and then I just bought it because I was like, fuck it, why not?
Now, that's the good thing for me is that I still have one kid that doesn't have a full up PC yet, so I can always play the, hey, I'm passing this down to the kids card. So as long as I can do that, I'm good. I'm not going to invest in having a new kid, but then I can start upgrading other PCs and do it part by part. But thankfully, I got one more excuse left, one more, and I'm going to use it in February.
So here's my question, Natso, Mr. Tech Guru. For the poor folk like me, who's running a streaming and gaming PC in one, would it be overkill going 5900X?
No, absolutely not. It would not be overkill as these processes continue to change, as the development for games continue to change. If anything, it'll give you a bigger cushion, as we left 4-core 8-thread as a standard with Intel. We jumped over to 8-core 16 threads because of AMD. So CPUs are starting off. I don't recommend anybody getting anything under 816, to be honest with you, because that's the perfect cushion between one single machine that does everything, gaming and streaming. But to add to that, those essential cores and threads that OBS will utilize, OBS Studio will utilize those extra cores and threads, will spin up and let you reduce those cores to like the first core, four cores be used for gaming and the rest can be used for streaming. You can actually segment. There's software that lets you actually segment what cores use what. But that's a later conversation, a detailed conversation. But to answer your question accurately, no, I don't think it's enough. It's kind of what Dave did as well. Dave, if you want to talk a little bit of why you went 3900X as opposed to 3700X, to kind of bridge that gap. But to me, it's never going to be more. Now, what it is that I need you to kind of fall back on is you need to have enough memory for all those cores and threads. What does that mean? That means that once you jump to the 5900X for 12 cores or above, 16 gig is not enough. You need to at least be supplying 1 gig per core. So when Tomb jumped over to the 3700X, he went ahead and got 32 gigs. So at that point, you slot a 3900X or a 5900X come here next year, he has enough memory per core. So you cannot forget that, yeah, 16 gigs will get you by, but to utilize every core efficiently with that amount of RAM, you really want to upgrade to 32 gigs or more RAM. Yep, let me close that.
I think the biggest thing for me is just getting to where we are finding compatible parts outside of, when we start talking about the 5900 and we start talking about the 3080. I think beyond that, let's talk a little bit about some of the compatible parts. So you talked a little bit about the motherboard. We just talked about the memory. What about, you said cooling? They're focusing on water cooling. So best water cooling systems that might work for this as well.
So it all comes down to two things for me. When I ask somebody, I've been building PCs for a long time. When I ask my client, do they have brand loyalties? And the reason why I say that is, doesn't matter what I like and what I can recommend, but they're really like, I really like ASRock. I really like the aesthetics of that board. Or I really like Asus ROG Strix. I really like, the look of them, the feel of them, or what have you. My biggest thing is, tell me what brands you like off the jump, and then I'm gonna tell you what I recommend, and then we can and I'll let you know what the best mix and match there. Top premium doesn't necessarily mean better performance. A lot of the times you're spending a lot of money on the name. My job is to say, how can I save you $100 here, $100 there, so we can actually refocus that budget to something that makes sense. Telling you to spend $500 dollars on a motherboard that you have no idea what to do with, why the features are there to begin with, isn't going to do you any good. I'd rather let's do $150 to $100 to $200 motherboard that has these defined bells and whistles, because this is what you do. You're like, dude, I just game. Like me, I would literally be running VMs on. What all can I cram into this machine? So if I run a 5900X, I'm also running VMware. I'm also running Linux boxes with the inside of the Windows space. So for that, I need more cores, more threads, more RAM, right? Because now I'm utilizing and segmenting pieces of my workstation, because that's what I call it, and segmented different VMs because I'm running different operations because of my work and because I like to have virtual labs. So my needs will be completely different than somebody says, dude, I literally just play Warzone. I literally just get on Facebook. I get on Discord. I'm like, well, I'm not going to tell you to go buy a $500, motherboard. I'm going to tell you, dude, you're more like $150 motherboard. So now we take that budget that you did have for the system board and then reassign it to the GPU. Okay, why do you like ROG Strix? And then you start telling me, well, I really just like the way it looks. Okay, what if I interest you in Gigabyte Aorus? You just save $150, $200 here. Does the exact same thing. It is a 3080. It is triple fan. It does have RGB. You're just not paying as much. And then you get into, because a lot of people will say, well, I got top brands, and then you mix them all together and they're like, well, they don't work. But what happened? Well, while I know Corsair's top brand for this system board alone that you wanted, they really didn't do the R&D to make sure that RAM was qualified for that motherboard. And I get it. You like Corsair Dominators. Cool. But if you will look at the spec sheet where they actually did the QA, they'll send you the list of approved memory modules that they actually did QA against. You notice that Corsair Dominator, that specific one that you liked, wasn't a part of the QA. So I was like, okay, but have you ever looked at my boys over at Crucial and their ballistics? You still get RGB. You still get the same performance because it's still Samsung die. It's just a different person selling it to you. So I need people to understand that a lot of the times you're literally buying the same thing, just with a different skin on top of it. It's like Fortnite skins. No matter what, the skin doesn't do anything for you, right? It's having the character there is what makes the difference. The skin is just, oh, I like the way this thing looks. That's it. But you're still running 3080 architecture. You're still running the same type of memory modules in it. The only thing is they stuck their cooler on top of it. Does that make sense? So I like to try to go and say, what are your top brands? Why do you like them? And then build a list against it. Okay, I can save you $100 here. I can save you $50 here. I can save you, $120 here. And then overall have a better understanding of how your system will work when it's fully built And the reason why we chose that, because you can save $100 here. It's like, what about cooling? You're like, well, I like this case. I'm like, bro, that case is trash. It has 0 positive pressure. Flat can probably speak on that because right now he's like, my case sucks. So we're going to go with cases that it says, hey, right now I got an air cooler, but later on I want to drop a radiator in it. Well, let's talk about cases and radiator replacements. Let's talk about positive pressure versus negative pressure. Let's talk about, are you going to want RGB fans? If so, which brand? Now we're going to talk about a RGB controller inside of it. It's just the board only has X amount. You're going to have to slap an RGB controller onto it. So that's the way we're going to save money, but you still want that RGB or you still want that specific brand, then we have to tailor your build such a way. Like when Toon came to me and said, hey, can you build my next machine? I'm like, bro, I already got the parts for you. I already know exactly what you want. First thing I asked him, do you have a preference on anything? He's like, dude, I don't care. So then we built his PC based on positive pressure on the case, lots of intake from the front of the case, and future-proofing him for slapping a radiator on the front of the case, a 360 rad, to be able to water cool whatever parts he wants. Does that make sense? So I like to take those aspects and implement them inside every custom build, so we know where you stand. Because the next question is, well, what does my upgrade path look like? The first question I always ask is, what is your favorite brands? And then what are we talking about in terms of upgrading? If you said, no, dude, just build my PC, this is going to be my PC for the next 5 years, then we'll revisit your upgrade path in 5 years. But if you say, no, dude, like right now, I just need something to get me up and running, but like in maybe a year or two, I want to drop a new CPU, then I'm going to recommend X570 all day. Because you can start off with a 39, like Dave is right now, and then jump over and drop a 59 next year or two. Does that make sense?
I think sometimes you make my head. There was so much information in about a 5-minute span. I'm glad you know what the hell you're talking about. Sometimes.
Listen,
like I can do a spec sometimes, but when you start talking pressures and all this outside, yeah, you got
what
it.
I got out of
This is why
this was if I want to build a cheap, really good PC, I just got to hit Not So Up. That's it.
We, Chillin just bought his, and I when he started asking me about parts, and I gave him my honest opinion, but then I'm like, man, whatever I say, just take that shit to Not So, man. Like, now Flap wants to talk about his case. Do you see that? Now he wants to come in here and talk about his case. He wants us all to cry. That might be more emotional than the damn mental health stream. This dude's gonna have a mental health stream just to talk about his case. Damn. So I mean, like I said, I'm just excited. I'm excited for the I'm really excited after these game developers get this technology in their hands too, because I don't think any of them expected us at the beginning of this year. I don't think many of them expected us to be at 4K gaming by the end of this year or even the end of next year. I think we were all kind of caught off guard when they started saying 4K is within reach, and now we're doing it. So I'm excited to see what these game developers do too, because we're all sitting here patiently awaiting Cyberpunk forever and ever. And like as soon as that drops, now we have 4K gaming, and then we have the introduction of 8K gaming. And it's like we didn't even get a chance to enjoy the 4K gaming yet. We've already got the next horizon built. And so these game developers are going to be the next ones that get their hands on this technology. And I'm excited to see what they can come up with, because the world of high def gaming it's moving and it's fast. And so I feel like we didn't even really get to enjoy this generation. And we started looking at 4K, now 8K. God only knows what's next. I mean,
12K.
16.
Okay. The law of exponents will get you there. But I mean, seriously, like these games that we have right now are absolute fire. Like when we're talking, even Warzone, for all of the shit it does wrong, when you get it running nice, like that's a great looking game. And it feels good. It's very smooth. It's unoptimized as shit. You can't stream it for dog, but it's still, these games look amazing and they perform very well. And ain't no one playing it right. Okay, nobody's playing Warzone, Flap. Why don't you just go back to
Flap must be nobody.
He just says, ain't nobody's playing it because he can't play it.
It's not fair to bash me because you can't do what I do.
His case start getting too hot when he fires it up.
They start catching fire.
You got to have a CPU cooler on first to be able to turn it.
Open that other window, Flap. But in all seriousness, like getting these games together and seeing what they can do, it's definitely going to be an interesting time to. Oh, I thought you meant Warzone. Whatever, I don't care about you. All right, so one last transition. I want to play a video for you guys, and I'm gonna get this dialed up here, and I want you guys to watch and listen to this, because this is probably we're gonna shift gears out of Tech Talk, because I just saw this and I came across it, and I really want to see your guys' thoughts. So we're gonna watch something that makes me cringe every time I see it. So this happened last night, and this sound is rather disgusting.
Be nice if I heard the sound.
Whatever. Just the so I don't know why my sound won't capture either, but I will say it sounds like he took a hammer to a rock. It sounded fucking disgusting. I'm really not sure how the guy walked out of the arena. So
Can you do me a favor? I want you to rewind and pause it right where his foot makes contact.
oh,
Because it's at that moment he realized he fucked up.
I knew you were going to say that.
you can't see it because it's got the pause overlay on it, but man, what a knockout! Like, and again, it sounds like the dude took a rock against a hammer and just.
It's fake. I mean,
Like the dude lost every bit of his memory with that one kick. So this is being hailed as the greatest UFC knockout ever. There's a lot of people who are arguing that point over on ESPN and all the social media platforms, but that was the worst decision you've ever made, is to catch his foot like that, and his lights just went out. Anyway, I was sitting here as we were doing some of the Tech Talk and looking at the football games that were about to start, because Twisted's Giants are going to lose today, and so he realized he done fucked up when he grabbed that dude's leg. So anyway, back to your previously scheduled program. Go Cowboys.
sorry, I didn't.
We're
I
gonna
didn't
go
catch
ahead. Go. Does anybody want to add anything else, or maybe recommendations? I'm more looking at Dave than anybody. About your experience with 3900X, just to kind of end it out, and then we'll swap over to probably the last topic, because we're probably coming up close to an hour. Just on me talking, because you can't get me talking on tech, bro. I won't shut up.
Well, my experience with the 3900X has been, I guess it's been good, but I haven't really pushed it to its limits. Like last week, I started tweaking the cooling on it, and it's more stable now. Like even at idle, it was like 110. By idle, I just mean like not doing anything on it, right? Basically. So now it's like 100. But the thing is, as soon as I open up Chrome, it goes up to like 110, 115. So, and then of course I brought down the fan speed on it as well, because it was like just blowing really hard, and it was getting kind of hot in the room. So that's the main reason I tweaked my cooling on it. But I do need to eventually upgrade GPU. But even though even though AMD is coming up with their new graphics card, I'm probably still going to go with NVIDIA. Because the last time I bought an ATI card, I wasn't really happy with it, per se. That was like maybe 10 years ago. So big difference from now, of course. But yeah, I mean, it's burning fine. It hasn't caught on fire yet. So I'm happy for it.
Learn a lesson from him, Flap.
Yeah, I don't got much to say besides.
You are like the smartest, quiet guy.
Yeah, I know.
I've
I'm
ever
pretty
met in
quiet.
my life. Like you know more than you'll ever let on, and it's I'm I'm gonna find a way to pluck all this knowledge out of your brain because seriously, when we met at QuakeCon a few years back, you sat there and you didn't say a word to me.
Yeah, I know.
And then we started talking about tech, and you started opening up, and I was like, oh damn, this dude knows everything.
No, I'm a pretty shy person. I've always been like that, but it takes time for me to open up. But eventually I will.
Yeah, you can't get him to shut up when he
Exactly. To specific people. I'm really picky when it comes to talking to specific people, I guess.
So when Dave said in Fahrenheit what he was talking about, that is not hot by any means, CPU-wise.
To me,
CPU-wise, when you start to really kind of tread on being hot, you're talking more than 60C, and even then, you're getting that in an average on Intel builds with water cooling. So when you really start getting those high temperatures, you're looking anywhere between like up to 80C. And everything is measured in C. You can change it. Yeah, obviously you can change it. But on idle, Dave is still staying way within the threshold. He's looking at between 38 to maybe 42C, which is perfectly normal and cool for AMD. Again, Intel runs way hotter than that because of its 14 nanometer processor. So you're looking on average on idle, Dave, on an Intel box.
Oh, I know.
You're looking at about 60C.
The other CPU that I was working on for a client, dude, that one I mentioned to you maybe a couple of weeks ago, he only had a one fan radiator IO, and his like at idle was like 140, 160 at idle, and so his main problem was like, oh, my computer's shutting down. I don't know why. So that was his problem. Is it was just running hot. I'm not sure if I didn't bother to check the thermal paste, but I did recommend him to possibly purchase another IO with at least 2 fans on radiator. So yeah, it was really running really hot at idle, and I was like, screw that. But yeah.
Anyone else on the Tech Talk or any other questions?
Can we start building my PC tomorrow?
Yes. Next question.
Actually, I have an interesting thing, and maybe you guys can solve it. Because Twizted and I've been in chat quite a bit about it. But his mouse, he went to the wireless Razer mouse that we talked about.
Oh yeah.
Where'd you go to?
I went to the one Felix has, the Hyperspeed Ultralight.
Right. So plugs it. He has it running wirelessly. Works fine on Valorant. Works fine on most games. Gets that shit into Warzone and it lags so bad. But then he plugs it in and it works fine. And I don't have any idea why it would do that when Felix is running the same mouse, running the same damn program. No issue. What in the world could be bottlenecking that so bad?
Are you running the exact same settings mouse-wise? Because the only other thing I can do is hardware acceleration on the mouse itself. That would trigger that driver connectivity. So you can run software, and then there's a hardware acceleration on the mouse itself. Most of the time, you disable that so that the mouse runs really with the drivers that were built for it. That's the only time I've ever seen an issue. Have you talked to Felix about exactly how he's running it in Warzone?
No, because I just actually discovered it yesterday. Because I was using it wireless all day. I decided to play a game with Tomb and couldn't even take 3 steps. Couldn't even. So I was like, I'm over it. It was like 11 o'clock at night here. I was over it. I just went to bed. Woke up the next morning. I was like, for shits and giggles, let me just plug it in. See how it works. Plugged it in. Warzone ran smoothly as normal.
2 things that come to mind is what I just explained, but also, are you running Windows Home?
Nope.
Are you running Windows Pro?
Yes.
Okay. Pro is way better than Home in a sense of priority. The only other thing I can think of is launching the Synapses as administrator, so it'll take priority over the game. There's a priority list order when the devices start malfunctioning, and this is a Windows 10 thing. It has nothing to do with your product. Same thing that happens when you are encoding with a GPU. You have to launch OBS. Doesn't matter if it's slobs or regular OBS or XSplit. This is a Windows thing. It has nothing to do with the software. So you have to run that as an admin when you're offloading it to your GPU, because GPU needs to take priority over OBS. And that's the only time you need to run as an admin is when you're GPU encoding versus CPU encoding. CPU encoding, you don't have to do that. But the priority on the list says, since I'm streaming with slobs and I'm handing it over to my NVENC encoder, my GTX card or my RTX card, I have to take priority precedent over whatever the game's doing. Because if not, what happens is the game takes over your OBS, right? So the game is here and it's like, I'm priority, screw whatever's underneath me. So then OBS doesn't run right. Does that make sense? So the only other thing I can do is maybe try to run that application. That's one of the reasons why I don't like Razer. I don't want to go back to Razer because the Synapses is a huge turnout for me. Their software cannot stand it. But maybe trying to prioritize that on the list. And it sounds like very like niche problem. Like you might be able to reach out to Razer and be like, hey, by the way, this is what happens, and be like, oh, that's known, do this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know if the Synapse software for Razer maybe has a option to upgrade the firmware on it. Maybe try doing that.
I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it a little later today because I
Yeah.
do gotta go out. So I'm gonna come back, mess with it, try to get it right. But I mean, when I say it was lagging, it was bad, dude. It was bad. Like I truly thought it was my internet. How bad it was. I restarted my whole system. Everything worked fine. Popped open Warzone again. Same exact thing.
I just sat there and because like he said, he was playing with me, and when it hit, it was so weird to watch him literally just come to a complete stop, and it bottlenecked his entire system. And it was. I mean, all you guys are right, but those are the same kind of things that I was thinking about. But I'm interested to see what the actual fix is. Like, whenever you do it and you fix it, I'd like to hear more about exactly what it was that fixed it, because it was such a moment that your mouse had that much problem. And I mean, it's what the way technology works when you're troubleshooting stuff. You got to look well beyond the surface issue, because the surface issue was, hey, it's the internet, hey, I'm just lagging, whatever. Never would have thought it was the mouse. All right. You guys got any other topics y'all want to discuss tech-wise?
I'm good.
With that being said, guys, I want to talk a little bit, just to kind of round up our talk about the mental health talk, and then I want to kind of transition out of here. The big thing for us, one of the things that Natso and I have discussed while we were coming up with the video ideas and some of the other stuff that we were working on was identification of a problem. So what you guys are going to see over the next week are some deployments of videos that are going to hit very close. But they're not just general mental health awareness videos anymore. We went away from that route. We did that last time with GST, where we just said, it's mental health, it's mental health, it's mental health. All of our advertising said mental health. It never really targeted the identity of what mental health was. So if you have any of the conditions of PTSD, anxiety, depression, we've done some other ones as well. Although I want you to watch the videos, take warning. The PTSD video was very tough. The anxiety one is very tough. So if you have that particular diagnosis, maybe it's best to pass on those videos, or at least understand that it could trigger something inside of you that you may not, you may not feel very comfortable with. So even though we're pushing out these advertisements, identifying an issue is very difficult to do, especially when you're talking about the brain that's got, whatever we talk about technology and supercomputer wise, there's about 1 billion of them up here. Okay. So the understanding that these things don't always work the way we want them to, identifying that problem is very difficult. Just kind of like we were talking about with the mouse. One impulse that doesn't go the right way, and you've got issues inside of your brain. So although I want you to watch the advertisements, I want you to take the message from us the way that we intend it to. Be careful. Take care to identify when something's not right and seek help when you can. But those PTSD videos, those anxiety videos, when we specifically target that disorder, those can be triggering. So that's kind of my underlying warning is be careful when you're watching these things. Take care. Make sure you're surrounding yourself with the people that you need to be surrounded with. Have somebody ready to talk to you through it. I'm always here. So if you guys feel some type of way, come tell me. If we if we get a mad response by like 200 people that are telling us this is too much, we'll consider taking it down if that's what's needed. But don't be afraid to share your thoughts with us. If you like it, you hate it, you love it, you dislike it, let us know so that we can tailor our message to fit and get the message out to as many people out there as possible, because it's an important message. So just take care this week. And as you see these videos, if you could do us a favor, just share them around. If you pick it up and you got somebody sitting next to you, let them watch it too. Not just the gaming world, guys. We're all here as humanity trying to make mental health awareness known, because it's still got a stigma surrounded with it. People still don't want to talk. People can't identify what's wrong. They don't want to. They're lost in it, and we can help them find themselves. So that's enough on the mental health stream. We got a lot of stuff that's coming out. You guys will see the sign-up sheets later today. We've got a lot of videos, a lot of advertisements, a lot of basically commercial-like ideas where we're trying to trigger you a little bit. We're trying to touch on the touchy topics. That was an agreement between leadership on the two teams. Is we're not going to skirt the sidelines this time. We're gonna hit you right in the face. And if that's what it takes to get just one person to say, I need help, I need somebody to talk to, then that's what we're going to do. And it will be a huge success if we get just one person to share their story, one person to open up, one person to find help. And we had a big meeting about this, about what does success look like for you? And to us, we all agreed, one person. We changed one person's life, and it'll change everything. You say, wish you could man, we got the stream coming up in December. It ain't even happened yet. Get out of here, man. You ain't even paying attention. Get out. All right. Anyways, you can close us out. Thanks, man.
Thank you so, gentlemen, for being here today. I always appreciate your time. Everybody from this panel is from Team Serious. Everybody on this panel is a serious gentleman. That being said, I want to go ahead and go around the horn. Last remark. We really haven't heard about Twizted, about what he says as far as his UV leadership, what his take is on everything mental health. Real quick, just a real quick, like 30-second thing, and then your closing comments, and then where we can find you, and then we'll rotate over to Dave Tombstone, and then I'll go ahead and close it with the commercial and the sponsors.
Absolutely. Damn, how do I word it without getting too emotional? So, your guys' last event, when I first met you guys within GST, that hit me hard, and that kind of made me open my eyes with my struggles and what I go through. So this to me is really important, because I want to take what you guys did and how it helped me and apply that across the board. Little taste, I am going to have a special guest on mine. I'm not going to tell you who, but there will be someone there to kind of explain their experiences. So like you guys said, as long as we can hit one person to me is a victory. Even if we hit 20, that one is just victory enough for me. So this truly has a special place in my heart, and I'm glad we're taking it as a team and, doing the best we could. So on that note, I'm going to save everything for my stream when that date comes. But yeah, catch me twitch.tv/Twizted_XO. Catch me in the TS Discord as well as the UV Discord, where I'm kind of lying around playing games and hiding from the world.
It's my turn, huh? Well, for me, basically, it's kind of a difficult subject, I guess. But the way I see it is, first accept that you have a problem, I guess, and then face the problem. Because if you always deny the problem, you're never gonna overcome it. And that's kind of like been a huge deal with me. But eventually, I think I'll overcome it. Everybody has anxiety, and depression, but there's different levels, I guess. But yeah, I don't want to go into much detail in my case. But yeah, I'm more than willing to either be the person or help out as well, because everybody struggles in life. And when you talk to a person and you explain to them your problems, it's kind of venting, and that helps out quite often. But yeah, that's my points on that for now. For my social media, twitter.com is also ViciousDave31K. Same thing with my Twitter handler is also Vicious Dave 31K. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Right on. You guys, I thank you all for the support you guys have given us. We've already gotten a ton of feedback just between Natsu and I. We've had extensive discussions about how to help the next person. And I know Twizted and I, we've spent a lot of nights sitting here at 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, trying to figure out our own brains and how to best solve those little things as they come and go. Because Dave's right. We all face it. It's nothing new. It's nothing that's going to go away tomorrow, but that's kind of why we want to kick that. We say it, break the stigma, because I don't care how damn strong you are. I don't care how outwardly strong you are. I don't care how many people you surround yourself with when you're sitting in a dark ass classroom where kids are supposed to be, and you sit there for 5 days straight and you're isolated and you can't talk to anybody. It sucks. And I'm talking specifically about a situation that happened with me this week, because Friday afternoon came around and I fell apart. So I don't care how strong you look. I don't care how invulnerable you are or how invulnerable you feel. Yeah, you're always able to go through this. And so the best coping mechanisms are key. And that's really what we're focusing on with the streams this year. When we get into December is we're going to share our experiences, but we're also going to talk about how to cope, how to fix it. And I think oftentimes you'll see some people who say, oh, well, they're using it for attention, or to hell with all that. Get that shit out of your mind. Everything can be used for bad. So we're just going to pair together as two organizations, and we're going to push out the best message we can. Hopefully we can find a third team. Hint, somebody. I'm throwing you a lifeline. Put your name on it. That's all you got to do. You don't have to do the work. We'll do it for you. You just got to step up to the plate and put your name on it. So you can find me over streaming on Twitch at XXTombstoneXX. I really don't use Twitter all that often. I'll throw out a positive message, or I'll follow the two teams around like a lost puppy dog. But outside of that, I really don't use social media too much. But I look forward to getting back into streaming, and I definitely look forward to the end of this year and working with you guys to put out the best message we can.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you for sharing. And I know it can be tough, but that's the stigma we're trying to break. We gotta get through these barriers. We can get to it together. You're not alone. And don't forget, you can talk to anyone, and literally anyone. Even if it's just through a game of Warzone or through a game of Killing Floor 2. With that being said, it's a great segue to go to, since we're ending on a serious note, to talk about our sponsor, Serious Property Solutions.
Hello, Serious Crew. This is Not So Busy, your podcast producer and Serious Gentleman podcaster. Team Serious would like to announce Serious Property Solutions, a proud sponsor of Team Serious. Serious Property Solutions, or SPS, will buy any house, any condition, any situation. So if you're looking into getting out of your mortgage or simply selling your house quick, and you are near or around the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, give them a call at area code 469-609-7368, or you can reach out to them via their Facebook page at facebook.com/Serious Property Solutions, and send them a message via FB Messenger, or email them at oscar@seriouspropertysolutions.com. We would like to thank SPS for their support and supporting this podcast. Thank you so much. Go check them out.
With that note, don't forget to check out Savory Sundays right back on the Team Serious channels on the Savory Sunday Facebook page. Don't forget that the podcast for the Serious Ladies comes back full hardcore Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Don't forget to stop by, check them out as they talk whatever the hell they want to talk about. And continue these conversations on. There will be segmented things that will be deployed during the week. Keep your eyes on the socials. Again, teamseriousdfw.com/break the stigma. You'll find all of UV's socials. Go follow them. Check them out. Think about the message. That's what we're trying to do. Just spread the message at minimum. People ask us, how can I help? Retweet. Reshare. Throw people our link. Tell them to come stop by and at least listen to the conversation. I felt like I've done my job with building all these websites and all these social media platforms. That being said, remember, check us right back here Sunday, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Hit Twizted, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Stop being early. For fuck's sake.
And remember, have a wonderful and safe work week. And always stay serious. Check you out next time.
See you guys.
See you.